Welcome to the new video. Last week I was leaving a gas station when I felt a sharp pain in my side. The homeless man who I had just denied change was holding a small dirty syringe. I remember staring at him in shock and disgust as I fell into a deep, unwilling sleep. Apparently the man hadn't noticed the multiple witnesses when he attempted this attack. I was told that I was saved before he could do anything. All my blood tests came back fine and I was given an antibiotic just in case. I was told he injected me with some sort of homebrew sedative and it might have some side effects as I process it out of my system. That night I had horrible nightmares about the man and all sorts of fears. I woke with a splitting headache, a dull throbbing pain and a sharp pain coming in waves. My head was full of cotton. I turned on the light of my bathroom and tried taking my temperature. This task proved impossible as I couldn't focus on the numbers in front of me. Everything was fuzzy and dark. I drank some water and I only then realized how dry my mouth was. I peeled my tongue from the roof of my mouth as I attempted to swallow the water, a feat I found near impossible. After choking down the first sips, my thirst became unquenchable. I drank from the tap for an uninterrupted 30 seconds, sucking deep the water until I physically couldn't. I had risen from the sink for but a moment, whipping my head back down to puke it all out, or what I had assumed was most of it. Along with the surprising volume of fluid, there was a black bile. It stayed separate from the water in the sink and danced near the edge of where the tap was still running. It had a strange colorful shine in the light, similar to an oil slick. I returned to bed feeling hydrated, nauseous, and exhausted. The next morning, I peeled my face from my pillow. Looking around, I noticed the blood. A small crust of dried blood outlined where my face had been on the pillow. I felt my face gently and realized it was extremely painful. Touching my face felt like touching a giant pimple, inflamed and sensitive. Approaching my bathroom mirror again, I made two discoveries. 1. I had open sores surrounding the left side of my mouth. 2. The rest of my face was fine. The source of the pain was my hands. The fingers were dark, swollen, and clubbed. The flesh tender and painful. The cuticles of my nails seemed to retract. I gave my doctor a call and he told me to come in later that afternoon. I cooked myself a simple omelet for breakfast. I found it extremely difficult as my arms disobeyed me slightly, shaking and moving in ways I didn't want them to. Plating the meal, I turned to carry the plate to the table and was startled by a sudden sound of glass shattering. I looked around frantically for the source when I realized it was the plate. My hands were stiff and completely numb. The meal lay ruined on the floor. At this point, I decided to go to the emergency room. I had trouble navigating the stairs, and upon collapsing to the floor, my arms and legs stiff and uncooperative, I decided to call an ambulance. At the hospital, I was immediately put on 4-drip and they asked me a ton of questions. The doctors had discovered a series of small porous lesions across my stomach. The sight made me sick. A tight pack of holes surrounded by gray dead flesh. These holes went deep too. I couldn't bear to look at them. I gently explored with my fingers and found that I couldn't feel them. I could only feel the dull pressure, no sensation. I was sitting anxiously gripping my thighs, waiting for some answers. I was stressed and sick, and feeling my own body change in such a way struck me with a hopeless kind of terror. That's why I felt it. A soft wetness and a slight pain. I looked at my hands on my thighs when I screamed. My thumbnail had pierced the thin, bloated skin of my thigh through my pants. I frantically struggled to pull down my pants and revealed my legs were black and purple, covered in deep pus-filled lesions. I couldn't feel any of it. I felt weak but overall normal, and I was looking at my skin and flesh being destroyed. The doctors moved me to a clean room until everything was sorted out. They did all sorts of tests and took many samples. I was never scared of needles, but the long thick needle they used to take fluid from my back was mortifying. I began writing this because I fear this disease will take me. I wanted to record a few thoughts even if they are delusional. The man in the suit. Before asking me for money and later attacking me, the homeless man was talking to a businessman for an extended period of time. As I approached, I remember them both turning to stare at me. I only remembered seeing this man because I saw him again, looking through the window to my room. I pretended to be asleep and saw him just staring at me. What if this man had given him the syringe instead of the aforementioned spare change? I'm recording this via voice text as my arms no longer function properly. The nurse came in the morning and I woke with a start, swinging my arms wildly at her. I had no control as I watched my writhing hands claw at her. Eventually, the loose flesh on my arms sloughed off, exposing bare bone and muscle. The nurse showered in my putrefied flesh, vomited inside her clean suit. She left the room. I cried out in horror, shock, disgust, and sadness. I couldn't control the movement of my altered limbs. My arm's bone was black, covered in dark lean muscle and thick tight sinew. No extraneous flesh remained on my long bony clawed hand. The doctors had restrained me and we both agreed it was in our best interest. All I could do was apologize. I felt my legs rubbing against the thick straps. I could feel the flesh deteriorating, giving way to my new limbs. The doctors came in to give me some new when my long black arm broke free, slashing through his suit, and I'm sure my bony claw didn't stop at his suit. They sedated me as they retrieved their colleague. When I woke, they told me the man I infected progressed much faster, and this disease would soon kill me. Apparently, he requested to be killed. I was too weak for that. Because of my restraints, I can't see much, but I can see my exposed ribcage. Its form was dark and twisted. Sharp black bony growths all over my torso. My organs were shrunken and tight to my spinal cord. All extra meat and organ has melted and rotted away. As my limbs smash against my restraints, I can feel my jaw loosening and new teeth growing in. A moment ago, I stood up, bringing the hospital bed with me. I feel lightheaded and it's hard to focus. Nothing seems real anymore and I can't remember anything about who I was. My new arms finally escaped their restraints and I am free.